With the NHL trade deadline coming up on Monday, February 24th, the Edmonton Oilers are potential buyers as they're in the thick of the Western Conference playoff race. They have identifiable needs. One has been around for a while, a winger to play alongside Connor McDavid. The other is a more recent development, a veteran defenseman now that Oscar Klefbom has been lost to injury.
Considering the Oilers are using Ethan Bear and Caleb Jones and William Lagesson's here, that's three of the players who were on the farm team last year already here. So to cover his tracks, Ken Holland may have been looking for that anyway, just a rental older defenseman. You never have too many defensemen. And with Klefbom's injury out 2 to 3 weeks, conservatively say he's out 2.5 weeks, that's about 8 games. That's about a third of what the Oilers have left in the season. So I think it might be worthwhile to check it out and see if there's a cheap rental older defenseman who would cost you a draft pick, 6th or 7th round, just to pick up, and there's not a lot of those. Possibility, Ottawa, they're in major sell-off mode. He's about 103 years old now, Ron Hainsey, but he can still play, so, and he would be cheap. He would be a 6th or 7th round draft pick. Too expensive, right shot defenseman, too expensive. He's a rental, but he's making $5 million a year. The complicating things for the Oilers is they only have $930,000 of cap space. Now they can put somebody on long term, which would be Brodziak, who's been out all year, but he doesn't make a lot of money, so they don't have a lot of money. Whatever deals the Oilers are making, it almost seems like they're going to have to dollar in, quasi-dollar out to start adding people now at this time in the season. So those sort of players like Vatanen make too much money. In Anaheim, he's moved around a fair bit, Del Zotto. Left shot as Hainsey is though, and if Klefbom's out, who's a left shot, it might help the Oilers to get a left shot defenseman. He's not, from what I understand, one of Steve Yzerman's favorites. He did not draft him. Ken Holland drafted him. Tremendously fast, top 5 skater in the league. He has warts, as Ken Holland has acknowledged. When he's playing well, he's very dangerous. On some nights, he's just kind of wandering out there and he's not engaged, which is probably why he's not a regular 30-goal scorer, and he's only done it once. Had an awful year this year on an awful team. But everybody realizes that he's an awfully good offensive player when played with good offensive players. So, you know, I wouldn't discount it that the Oilers get him. He's a restricted free agent at the end of the year, so the Oilers would have his rights, but they would have to sign him. And 1 year down the road, he'll be an unrestricted free agent, so the Oilers would have to sign him to a longer-term contract. I don't see it. He makes a lot of money right now in Florida. He's fast though. Those are the 2 fast options for the Oilers. I'd have to look up to see. Some of these players have, you know, the old "I'm never going to Edmonton," you know, in their contract. The teams that they won't go to in a trade, and you know, maybe the Oilers are on Hoffman's list. I won't go there in a trade. So I think Athanasios makes more sense because Holland knows him from Detroit than Hoffman. No.
Why not?
No. He is cheap though.
He would fit under the cap.
He would fit under the cap. He would, I mean, I guess anything's possible. I mean, Montreal's not making the playoffs, so they can trade lots of guys. I think Max Domi is a player there that more teams are calling on than Kovalchuk. And Kovalchuk would be one of those players that would be more attractive to a team that's going to win, you know, they think has got a shot, like Boston, say, than the Oilers. No. It costs a first-round pick, and the Oilers aren't giving up a first-round pick. The Oilers only have 3 things in play: Jesse Puljujarvi's rights, a second-round draft choice, and a prospect defenseman. They have lots of young defensemen. They won't give up their first-round pick. Holland has made that clear and keeps telling people who ask, quit asking, and Puljujärvi's rights. But you'd think Puljujärvi's rights would be more attractive to a team that's not going to be in the playoffs, so they don't care. They'll get him next year. You know, a team which makes Detroit pretty attractive. You know, if you want to trade him there, because Detroit's not making the playoffs. In fact, Detroit might be lucky to win 20 games. I think he's still a possibility. Second round pick and a prospect defenseman. No team's given up a first round pick for Pajot because they think this is one of those one-offs for him where everything he shot is, you know, this year is going in the net. They don't see him being more than a third line player. And I think if you'd asked me a month ago, I'd say the Oilers' number one priority was a third line right shot center. I think it's now a left wing to play with Connor McDavid, as long as the Draisaitl line's going really well with Yamamoto and Nugent Hopkins, and it certainly is. When Connor gets back, I think he needs a left winger who plays with lots of speed, and Zach Cassidy can play on the right side, and James Neal then I guess would drop down to the third line to play left wing. Possibility. Got lots of speed. Hasn't had a very good year in Buffalo. Did once upon a time play with Sidney Crosby. I don't think he'd cost a lot of money. Same thing with Patrick Marleau in San Jose. Both those players can skate well enough. But the problem is they're both role players, and I think the Oilers' role players now are playing pretty well. You know, that would just add to the list of role players for the Oilers, bottom six guys. And that's not a bad thing, but with the improvement of Archibald and Sheahan in terms of offense, I don't think, you know, they need quite as much at the bottom end. They need more high-end guys, and eventually Cass, you know, come back from his suspension, and James Neal will come back from his ankle issue, which will give the Oilers two more players to put in the top nine. But they need a speedy forward to play with McDavid. Shoots right. He's a right winger, I think. I would say no, but he's certainly in play for. If, you know, Jersey looks like they're backing up the moving truck to get rid of lots of guys. On the other hand, I don't see Jersey trading everybody. You know, and Palmieri is their best forward left, best winger left anyway, to go with Hughes and Hischier, so I don't see them trading him. I don't think that Arizona would got Taylor Hall, and they're in the playoff race of trading Taylor Hall. So, but you know how it works in hockey. In the division you're in, and the toughest division and the most competitive division is the Pacific Division. So Vancouver's made their deal to get Toffoli. Arizona got Taylor Hall a while back. The Oilers, Calgary, and Vegas now are on the clock, I guess. Vegas needs a defenseman. Calgary needs a forward. Edmonton needs forwards. So, but I don't know if Calgary is going to make a deal now. I mean, they were interested in Toffoli, not Plan A, but they were interested in him, and they were ready to dangle Sam Bennett. But Bennett's played pretty well the last little while now that he's back at center. So they may just stick with what they got. And Ken Holland, he's made it very clear that if his team was in the playoff hunt, he would help them out. Just remains to be seen what he has to give up to help them out. And every GM looks at his team the same way and says, I'm going to help my team out, but how far are we going to go in the playoffs? You know, I'm not mortgaging the future just to get in the playoffs and be out in a week and a half in the first round with a rental. So it's a pretty dicey situation. And as we pointed out, the Oilers don't have very much cap room.